Right. Good morning once again. Today we carry on with our mathematics lesson, grade 9 maths. And of course, my name is Henrik Makaneta. Today we will be focusing on factorization, in particular common factors, and then we'll look at some examples as well as various activities. Right. As we said the other day, in fact, this is this is how I'm gonna define factorization. The other day we spoke about algebraic expressions, and we have defined the algebraic expressions as a combination of numbers as well as symbols, where you use all the four uh, digits. You know, all the four operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, as well as division. Now, when we talk about factorization, we are basically talking about the inverse of expanding an expression through multiplication. So the inverse of expanding an expression, in this case, uh, we just have to find a common factor. If you are given a binomial, a trinomial, or a polynomial. Now, the first example is just a number, just a whole number 24, and I'm just demonstrating that you can factorize 24 by taking out the common factors. You can tell that and 8 are factors. Should be easy at this point to set it unstable for the last second. Let's repeat. I'm just going to repeat that what you need in this case is to look at us, and the table says we have a factor. Sorry about the interruption. And of course, the next one there is just to demonstrate that 3 and 8 are factors of uh, 24, because if you multiply 3 by 8, you definitely get 24. So the two of them are factors of 24. And so if you factorize 24, you can simply factorize it by demonstrating that you multiply 3 by 8, and that will be the factors. The 3 and 8 are both factors of 24. Now we have to carry on now and deal with a wide range of factors in example 2 as it relates to the second example there. So in this case, we have got an example where we need to factorize 8x minus 4. And in this case, we need to find the highest common factor. So very important, when you factorize, always consider the highest common factor. Because if you just do the lowest common factor, then you may have to redo your factorization again, in a sense that you need to simplify. So just ensure that when you factorize, make sure at all times that the factor that you take is the highest. And it must be the common factor, so it must be in both terms. For instance, 8x minus 4, we have got two terms there. This is a binomial. Therefore, in a binomial, if you have to take out any factors there, you can just check and you'll be able to see, or you can tell rather, that 4 in this case will be the highest common factor. And if you have to take 4 and, ensure that you take out 4, you'll be left with, in the first instance, 2x, and then in the second term there, it will be -1. This means that the factorized expression will be 4, and then you open your bracket, and then 2x minus 1. So this is the factorized expression of the algebraic expression there. So now the main thing that you need to know is just that you are going to take out the common factor. So I'm proceeding to example 3, which consists of about A, B, C of factors there, or the 2 binomials there, as well as a trinomial in C. So the binomial in A, as well as the binomial in B, all that we need to do there is just to factorize. How would we factorize? And please make sure that our chat group is open. So our group chat is open. If you want to answer on the group chat, please go ahead. Alternatively, you can raise your hand at any time, and so that we can look at the different problems. The first one being 5a plus 10b rather. So we are looking at the factors, and we want to factorize 5a plus b. Morning to you as well, Umkabetze. We are now factorizing the 5a plus 10b, and then we are proceeding. So please feel free at any time to take out the highest common factor between 5a and b and 10b. So what will be the factor? So obviously, when you look at the two terms, 5a and 10b, you can tell that the numbers 5 and 10 both have a common factor, and the common factor in this case will be 5. And I see that one of you has already answered the question, and you got 5 into a plus 2b, and that is correct. I see that there are 2 hearts there. I just don't see the name. And of course, Tando as well, Tando Gubani says it is 5 into a plus 2b. Yes, I fully agree with you, Tando, together with the learner who found the correct answer before Tando. The highest common factor is 5. Therefore, you take 5 as the highest common factor, and then you'll be left with a plus 2b. So it will be 5, open bracket, a plus 2b. So it will be 5, open bracket, a plus 2b. And then, of course, that will be our factorized expression. So very important, we need to always remember the importance of taking out the common factor. So 5a plus 10b, and then the 5 is the common factor, then you have 5, open bracket, a plus 2b. So the other important factor is that once you have factorized your expression, it should be easier for you to, when you multiply or when you rather simplify the factorized expression, you should be able to go back to the original answer. And in this case, our original answer, as you can see, is 5a plus 10b. So if you have to multiply the 2, then the first instance you'll have 5 times a, that is 5a, and then 5 times 2b, that will be 10b. So you'll have 5a plus 10b. That will be your answer there. So I can see that the learner with 2 hearts there has already calculated. You have 2x squared into 3x squared minus 2. Let's go back to the previous one there. Let's see which one are you referring to. Yes, We have the second one there, which is 6x to the power of 4 minus 4x squared. So yes, indeed, in this case as well, all that you need to do is to take out the common factor, something that we are going to dedicate this lesson to, just to factorize, so that you don't do a lot of concepts at the same time. So the key concept of today is factorization. So I can see that there's one learner already who's ahead. But if you check, let me be specific. When you factorize binomials of this nature, all that you need to do, you must focus on both the numbers as well as the variables. So you can see that in the first term, the number that we have or the coefficient rather, it's 6. And in the second instance, the coefficient is 4. So it is clear that there is a common factor there, and the common factor is 2. Because 2 can go into 6 without the remainder, it can also go into 4 without the remainder. So that is the actual highest common factor. So after 2, there is no common factor anymore. So the other common factor, which is low, is 1. So 1 is the lowest common factor. But the highest common factor is 2. And then when it comes to x to the power 4 and x to the power 2, the common factor there will be x squared, because you can see that, remember the law of exponents, that when you multiply 2 powers with the same base, you add the exponents. So in this case, x to the power 4 is the same as x to the power 2 multiplied by x to the power of 2. So if x squared is the common factor, then it means even 2 is the common factor. Then this actually shows that you can take out 2x squared as a common factor. And in this case, you will be left with 3 in this instance, and then x squared. But once you take out 2x squared here, you'll just be left with 2. So the answer that you'll get will be as follows. We have demonstrated here that first and foremost, you need to just find the highest common factor, and that is 2 for the numbers, and then for the variables, the highest common factor there is x squared. So therefore, this means that 6x squared minus 4x squared will be equal to 2x squared, open bracket, 3x squared minus 2. So that will be the expression which is now factorized. So the expression will be 2x squared, open bracket, 3x squared minus 2. So that is the expression. So let me now take you to the next one. And we remember that we also had C, which we have to also deal with. And of course, let us figure out once again, before we go to look at what the final answer will be. We have got a trinomial. You can see in this trinomial, which consists of 15y cubed, that is the first term, and then the second term will be 12y squared, and then of course you also have 3y. So these are the 3 terms that we are now looking at, and we need to factorize. Tando has already chipped in there, and then of course Tando says we need to ensure that we factorize in such a way that you take out 3y as the common factor. So yes, I fully agree. 3y will be the common factor. And then once you take 3y as the common factor, you can see it is there all the time. So How do we know it's 3y? We start with the numbers first. 15, 12, and 3. What is the common factor there? So obviously the common factor is 3. That is the common factor between 15, 12, and 3. And then we come to y cubed, y squared, and y. What is the common factor there? The common factor, or the highest common factor rather, is y, because y can actually go into y cubed without the remainder. It can equally go to y squared without a remainder, and it can go into y without the remainder. Therefore, 3y is the most visible high common factor there, or the highest common factor. And then if you have to now take it out, you will be able to see that you will be left with 5y squared minus 4y plus 1. So the first things first, you'll be left with 5y squared minus 4y plus 1. So Tando, that is the correct one there, 3y being the common factor. And right now, we need to zoom directly into the different activities where you'll be able to get an opportunity to also write and reflect. But if there's a question, please raise it at any time so that we can attend to the question. So before we carry on with our activities, remember that we said that when you factorize, you look at the highest common factor. And as we have done here, we have focused on the highest common factor being 4 between the two uh, terms, 8x and 4. Yes, there's a negative sign here, so 8x minus 4. So all that you concentrate on will be just the first term and the last term, and then you take you take 4 as the common factor, and the remainder will be 2x minus 1. So this must be in such a way that if you have to take the expression back to its original form, you can be able to do so. So this is 4 into 2x minus 1. So you simply multiply 4 by 2x, and thereafter you multiply 4 by 1. And then you bring down the negative sign. So the answer will be 8x minus 4. So 8x minus 4 will be our answer. Can we now, of course, before that, we also looked at just the factors of 24, which is 3 and 4. So we are now going to proceed just to demonstrate and, be able to do different activities here. The first one is that we just need to copy the table and then complete it afterwards. So the first things first, we have 4m minus 8 is equal to 4, and then open bracket. So I want you to copy and complete the table. So tell me in the first instance, how are you going to complete the table when you are given an expression of this nature, 4m minus 8. So it should be clear at this point that the main thing, or the thing that you need to look after, is the highest common factor. Is there any highest common factor between the two? In other words, between the two terms, 4m and 8? Yes, there is. I see that once again, the learner with 2 hearts there found that 4 is the common factor. So if you have to now factorize 4, you should be able to come up with an expression. So 4, if you take out 4 as a common factor as it's happening here, what will be left in the bracket? So you have m minus 2 Tando also have m minus 2. So 4 open bracket m minus 2. That will be the expression. So this expression emanates from the two binomials, and then we've taken out the highest common factor. But remember always that if you want to test or check your answer, you can always multiply out the bracket, and then you will be able to go to the original answer. For instance, if you have, as Tando has said there, if you have 4 open bracket m minus 2. So if you have to take the expression back to its original form, you just multiply 4 by m to get 4m, and thereafter you multiply 4 times 2 to get 8. So 4 multiplied by 2 will be 8. So meaning that you will be back at 4m minus 8. I hope that it makes sense. And then again, we also have b, the 5ab plus 2a. Again, we need to just find a way to factorize the expression. So let me take this opportunity to give you a chance as well. I hope that you have a pen and a paper with you, and you should be eager by now just to solve the two two factors there of a binomial, or two terms in a binomial. And then of course, excuse me, let me rather go back. Yes. So 5ab plus 2a is equal to, so you're given a there, and all that you need to do is to complete the table. Remember, thank you very much, Junior. I see Junior is back on board. James as well. Junior and James have the same answer, together with the learner from with 2 hearts there. I can see that Tando was asking the name as well. So they they have it right. A into 5b plus 2, that is our answer. So you can see that you are given a hint. So the hint is always there in this activity, particularly where you have A and then open your and now with 2 hands, I've got the I'm talking about the name. I'm not necessarily referring that. I'm not saying the learner has 2 hearts. I'm saying the phone. The the next one, we have the next one again. I see that 5ab plus 2a, we've already done that. So the next one is 6x squared plus 3x. In fact, 6x squared minus 3x. So that as well is an expression which is a binomial. Remember, you need to always remember this, the names of our expressions. We spoke about the monomial last week, and today we are factorizing. So we have already factorized a monomial because 24 is just an expression with just one term. So, and then of course we are looking at the binomials as well as the trinomials. So we are factorizing. Now in this case, once again, like I said, I see Tando has found that the answer is 3x into 2x minus 1. Yes, that is correct. Remember, what is important is just to look at the numbers first. We have 6 followed by 3, and then of course you can take out the common factor there. And I'm sure you'll agree with me that when you have 6 and 3, between the two, the common factor should be 3. In fact, that happens to be the highest common factor. Remember, we also have the lowest common factor. but we don't necessarily use the lowest ones, we focus on the highest. So the highest one there will be 3. That is between 6 and 3. And then between x squared and x, the highest common factor is x. Because x can go into x squared, it can also go into x. Now, once you take out 3x as a common factor, the remainder will be 2x and then minus 1. Yes, I fully agree. Tando Ngubani has got the correct answer. And then, of course, the learner whose name is not disclosed also found that the correct answer is 3x into 2x minus 1. Now we are proceeding to the next level. I see Tando, you have done it already together with Kwezi. Tando says 4a into 2a plus 3, supported by Kwezi, and Tando just reflecting that this is G. Kwezi Mwabe as well. So, in Tando Gubani, thank you very much indeed. You have just factorized correctly. In D there, you can see 8a squared plus 12a. The highest common factor, as you said, is 4a. But for learners who may not always be sure, I can advise them to firstly factorize the numbers and thereafter factorize the symbols, so that there's no confusion. But of course, you can also do it by inspection, just to factorize both the numbers as well as the symbols, or the variables rather. So in our case, what we have done here, we looked at 8a squared plus 12a, and we realized that 4a is the highest common factor, because in 8 and 12, 4 is the highest common factor. And then a is also highest common factor of a squared and a. And then, of course, the answer would be 4a into 2a plus 3. So that was D. And then we can now proceed to E. So in E, you can see again we have a binomial 12m plus 9m squared. 12m plus 9m squared. So you can see, if you have to copy and complete the table, the answer that you should get, or the hint that has been given, is that you will probably have a number outside here and then multiplied by 4 plus 3m. The key question is which number? If you're going to have 4 and then 3, and initially you had 12 and 9, so it means the number will be 3, because if you multiply 3 by 4, you get 12. If you multiply 3 by 3, you get 9. So the outside number there will be 3, and then of course not just 3, but also m. Because m, or between m and m squared, you have the highest common factor there is m. Remember that go into m squared without a remainder. The same m can go into m without a remainder. So m in this case is the common factor, and then if you add it to, not necessarily add, or if you pay it with a 3, which is also a common factor between the numbers, you'll have 3m, open bracket, 4 plus 3m. So 3m, open bracket, 3 plus 4 plus 3m. So Snoop Dogg, I see you call yourself Snoop Dogg there. You also found it right. Tando got it right. And of course, there are 2 learners only who participated in this activity, or those who got it right, those who managed to give me the answer. Maybe some of you have written the answers on a paper, but you just didn't share them with me. Please feel free at any time to raise a hand if you feel there's something that you'd like to share. I see that we are now proceeding to F. which is the last activity of this session, not necessarily the session, but this round of session. We are looking at 20x cubed minus 15x to the power of 5. So once again, we will have to now uh, take out the common factor. So you can see here that the highest common factor has not been given. The same goes for the previous one. And then, of course, 20 and 15. What will be the highest common factor there between 20 and 15? So I think that the highest common factor will be a number that can be able to go into 20 without the remainder. The same number must be able to go into 15 without a remainder. And I cannot think of any other number except 5, because 5 can go into 20, can also go into 15, and that is without a remainder. So 5 is the one of the factors that are common, but because this is an algebraic expression, you also have to look at the other variables. So the variables in this case will be x cubed and then x to the power of 5. So x cubed and x to the power of 5 are the variables. And then, of course, you can take out a common factor between the two. X to the power 3 will be a common factor because you can take it out in both instances. So this means, as some of you may have done, you'll have 5x to the power 3. As Tando said, 5x to the power 3, open bracket, 4 minus 3x squared. Yes. Kwezi Mwabe as well agrees with Tando. And then the other learner who now calls himself or herself Snoop Dogg, you also found it right, the correct answer there. 5x open bracket, 4 minus 3x squared. So by this, it means we have now completed our activity, and then we can just go on and consolidate our lesson on this topic of factorization. Now, without any waste of time, I've got a different scenario here. All that we need to do is to expand the expression. Let's expand this expression. We are given 6x, open bracket, 2x plus 1. So let us rather expand. Let's expand the session, or then we can just take it from there. When you expand, it means you are just going to break the bracket, and then you need to, after breaking the bracket, you must just arrange your terms accordingly. So I'm just going to give you a chance. I hope that you all have pens and papers, and then let us take it from there. Then, of course, let's carry on. A few minutes, or in fact, 30 seconds, just to reflect on this activity, and then multiply the bracket out, and then you can give us the final answer. Before I can do that, so the hint is that you just need to really, you just need to multiply your bracket there by 6x. So in other words, you'll multiply 2x by 6x. You'll also multiply 1 by 6x. How are you going to start? So the first things first, you will just have to take 6x and then you multiply that by 2x, and you have 12x squared. I see Junior got it right. Tando Nguban as well got it right. Who else? The learner with two hearts there on the name of the phone. You got it right, 12x. And then Unkabetsi as well, I see you have 12x. But remember, Unkabetsi, don't forget to include the x. I'm talking about 6x. So the first one will be 12x squared plus 6x. So that will be the final answer there. Apart from Unkabetsi, the learner again, SD, also found 12x to the power of 2 and then plus 6. Yes, that's correct. Thank you very much indeed, Unkabetsi. Kwezi also found that when she expands, then 6x minus 2x is 12x squared, and then plus 6x. So I agree with you, Kwezi. That is also correct. And then we can also factorize this one whenever. Remember, this is what we had, and then we have we got 12x squared plus 6x. So we now have 12x squared plus 6x. How are we going to factorize this? Now, you need to be able to move from the original expression to the factorized expression, but at the same time, you must be able to move from the factorized expression to the normal expression. So in this case, we have the normal expression. All that we need to do is factorize. So what do you look for when you look for factors? You look at numbers that exist in both terms, and in most cases, they should be divisible by the term itself. So our last one here, or our factorized expression, was this one here of 6x into 2x plus 1. And we all got 12x squared plus 6x. So I see Kwezi has already, all right, Kwezi has not yet, Kwezi just wrote the answer from the previous question. Right, Tando, thank you very much indeed for reporting that Nosipo is absent because she has got some technical problems with her network. We will note that. Right, so 12x squared plus 6x, and then now you need to factorize. I see that Junior has already factorized for us, and Junior, you have 6x open bracket 2x plus 1. Yes, when you take out 6x as a common factor, you are bound to be left with 2x and then plus 1. 2x plus 1 will be your final answer there. So 2x plus 1 will be the final answer. I hope that we are not rushing. The only challenge is that we had too many problems to factorize, and we are consolidating this lesson so that it becomes easier for you to be able to resolve some of these challenges. So without any waste of time, I'm just going to zoom directly into the next term, and then of course we can be able to factorize it. This looks a bit tricky. We have 5y squared, open bracket, 4y squared, minus 3y. So can we factorize this expression? Let's factorize the expression. The expression is as follows: 5y squared, open bracket, 4y squared, minus 3y. Can we factorize such an expression? If anyone is ready, please share your answers with us. All right, that's a question from one of the learners. Do we factorize or do we expand? I think that you can expand and then thereafter factorize. There's no problem with that. You can expand and thereafter factorize, because once you have expanded the expression, then it will give you a clear picture of how the expanded expression looks, and thereafter it may be easier for you to factorize. Yes, thank you very much indeed. I see Tando as well. Thanks, Tando. We are now going to just expand the expression here, and thereafter we can just factorize. So we have 5y squared, open bracket 4y squared minus 3y. Let us expand and then factorize. Right, and then, okay, we see that Tando has already expanded. If you expand, you have 20y to the power 4 minus 15 y to the power of 3. Can you see? Now it takes us back to the expression that we just had. So you'll have 20y to the power of 4 minus 5y, 15y to the power of 3. So now that we have this kind of an expression, can we now factorize? Is it possible? Yes, we can. So we have 20 in the first term and then 15 in the second term. So if you factorize those, you'll see that 5 goes into 20 without a remainder. It also goes into 15 without a remainder. And then when it comes to y to the power 4 and y cubed, you can actually see that you can take out y cubed, y to the power 3, because it exists in both instances. So once you take that out, then you'll be left with 5y to the power of 3, open bracket, and then 4y minus 1 there. Okay, 5y to the power of 2, open bracket 4y minus 2. I see 4y squared minus 3y. But what about the y? I see you are back to where we were in terms of this factorization. But what about the y? Because the y that is inside the bracket in this case is still a common factor. So you still need to take it out. So you can't just leave y squared and 3y. That is why I'm saying that once you have taken the y here, you'll have 5y cubed. This is what you'll have. And then you'll have 4y minus 3. I'm sure that it makes sense. All right. Now, in this case, we wanted to expand. I think in this case, we are not expanding. We've just swapped the two. We need to factorize our expression. But because of time, I'm just going to give you these activities which you can look at in terms of factorization. We have 6a minus 6, 2m squared with 2m squared minus 4mp, 9x to the power 4, and 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 6. So those are the only four expressions which you can factorize in a homework. Once again, thank you very much indeed for taking the time and the trouble to participate in the group chat. I really appreciate your participation. This lesson, once again, was brought to you by the STEM Digital School in partnership with the Sasol Foundation. If you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to send an email to STEM Digital School at africateamgeeks.co.za. Until we meet tomorrow, thank you very much indeed.
Bye, sir.
Bye.
Bye, sir. Have a nice day.
Bye, everyone.